Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you're joining us from worldwide. I'm Sterling. Thanks for coming by the channel. It's always a pleasure to get together here once a week. This show is being recorded for Sunday, September 5th, 2021. And just a quick reminder, these shows are for entertainment purposes only. All the information I share on these shows is received through my spiritual team, my guides, my angels, my counsel. So it's for entertainment purposes only. Real quickly, I want to issue a very sincere thank you to everybody out there, all the subscribers, all the individuals that are supplying questions each week. My team goes through hundreds of questions each week, and we try to narrow it down to the most helpful questions. This week, we're doing a top 50 countdown of most frequently asked questions, and those are derived from all the hundreds that are supplied on the community board each week. So each week, I place a request out there for questions and topics. You'll see that on the community board, and that's where all the questions are derived from for these shows. Another quick bit of housekeeping is that we're still running a contest. So every time we reach the next level of 1,000 subscribers, we give away a free half-hour session with myself and a free half-hour session with Linda Grindle, the Comanche Psychic. So the next level is 19,000 subscribers. The way you enter the contest is just to enter comments on these shows, starting off with the word love. And then you also need to be a subscriber to the channel. And that's how we select the winners when we achieve that next level. I also want to just mention that anyone that needs to contact me for a session, it's very easy to do. Look for our website, sterlingpsychicmedium.com. Look for the book online tab. The calendar is always up to date by my office team, so very easy to select a date. So with no further ado, let's get into this week's top 50 countdown of frequently asked questions. So number 50, what was the thinking behind the decision made by the Supreme Court and the Texas abortion law? Yeah, obviously a very current topic. What my guides tell me is that really this is a long-term, concerted effort by conservatives and the GOP, obviously, to kind of move through an anti-abortion law. What my guides are also telling me is that because of certain provisions in the law, like the vigilante provision, that this will be struck down. It's going to take a couple of cycles in some local courts, and there'll be some other reviews by the Supreme Court. But overall, this law will not survive. And the good news is I do see as many as 3 new Supreme Court justices coming on the Supreme Court, but 2 of them look to be replacements and 1 looks to be an addition. So that for me is over the next 12 to 18 months, I see the new Supreme Court justices. So that'll move the court more towards a balance between liberals and conservatives, if you will. 9 non-Supreme Court right now. And when 3 are added, that'll be a 6 and 6. So I do see at least more of a positive outcome, but more fights. Certainly the vigilante provision is going to be a strong problem for that law. 49 in our top 50 countdown. Do you see women losing many of their rights, such as the right to choose, the right to work, and to be treated equally? No, but I do see this kind of parallels the first question we just answered, is that I do see a lot of long-term fights in the courts, both, at state level and some federal level. I do, in the end, women's rights are going to be upheld. And I do see a lot of women's groups and a lot of men's groups all fighting for the same cause. So, this is a bit of a process here, but long run, I don't see a lot of women losing their rights. It's just more of a fight. 48 in our top 50 countdown. How far out can you see dealing with Earth's climate changes, ascension, politics, Earth changes, shortages, and the pandemic is exhausting? Well, I've talked about this on other shows, but I do see that we're in the middle of a 3-decade resurgence, refresh, or reset. So from 2020 to 2050, we're going to see a lot of the Earth changes and a lot of things occurring with people. The pandemic, for example, will pretty much be under control by the middle of next year. So both Delta, Lambda, and the new Mu variant should all be under control by the middle of next year. Will still require boosters and vaccines. But the answer is that I think with whoever asked this question, there are a lot of Earth changes and Earth resets and climate change that's going to get better for us, but this is a 3-decade process overall. And I think the question was, how far out can you see? All the information that gets referenced here through the angels and guides is also doubly referenced by the Akashic records. The Akashic records, some people say, but that is the compendium for all information from the past, present, future. And so that ends up being a reference largely to how a lot of the information gets delineated and described. 47 in our top 50 countdown. Who is providing the most funding to the Republican Party to finance all of the political recalls and propaganda? Well, by and large, most of it's coming from it's offshore money. It's being channeled through oligarchs, certainly based in Russia and some based here. And I do see a handful of billionaires that are trying to stand behind causes that will benefit them in terms of resources and access to certain types of businesses and laws that help with petroleum and oil and mineral rights and land rights. So it's really a handful of billionaires and oligarchs. By the way, I don't think there are any trillionaires yet. I think Jeff Bezos is maybe one of the closest, but eventually, in a few years here, we'll have some trillionaires involved in the process, not just billionaires. And by the way, that's no reference to anything going on with Jeff Bezos. I'm just referencing that there are no trillionaires yet here in the economy. 46, will Texas turn blue? So I'm going to take this question to be interpreted in the larger sense. That means, overall, let's say population-wise and government-wise, governor and representation. I don't see Texas turning blue for at least a good decade, so about 10 years. We're going to see shifts, moderate shifts towards blue, and the elections are going to be very close, so it's going to be a gradual shift, and we may see some representation in Congress that is blue, so to speak, but kind of for the state to fully turn blue is still about another decade away. 45, does sending love and light out to the planet work? Yes, it does, because what it does is it sets up the expectation for not only you, but for others that you send love and light to. So their guides and angels receive your communication, your request, and so it sets up an expectation, which then helps the overall outcome. And I can tell you, just when you do this with family members or even work associates, it ends up being very, very helpful because it attenuates the situation. The next time you get together with those people, things end up going a lot better. The temperature in the room is much lower, and it really does have a very beneficial effect. I've used it practically over many years. Number 44 in our top 50 countdown. A few weeks ago, you predicted a major water event in New York area. Is the recent event the one you saw? Yes, and so this is interesting. Let me give you some context on this. I believe that show was about 4 weeks ago. It was a Sunday show I did with Linda G, July 18th. And I think what the guides were predicting was a major water event on the East Coast around New York, New Jersey. They may even mention Boston. But I think the event, what they're referring to is the event we just saw, which was Hurricane Ida, then moving up along the East Coast. And that created that flood that was, the worst in 500 years. So this was the event that they were referencing. And, I had no idea what the scope and the size was going to be, but the fact that it was one of the worst floods they've seen in 500 years makes me believe that that's the exact one they were referencing. Something on timing, timing question always comes up. I think initially we thought that water event might be the next 1 to 2 weeks. It ended up being 4 or 5 weeks down the road. Time is nonlinear on the other side. And so sometimes timing can be a little bit of an issue in terms of locking it down here on Earth. But anyway, the answer to that question is yes. I certainly believe that was the water event they were referring to, or the weather event. 43 in our top 50 countdown. Is there any link between the events of 9/11 and the previous administration? I do get there was a lot of inside information shared with the Saudi government. And we know that, Saudis were certainly instrumental and involved in some areas. So the answer to that is yes, that there was some involvement in communication back and forth that aided and abetted what we saw on 9/11. And I now know for a fact that we'll see a lot of information coming out very shortly. In fact, even this week, Biden made a move to remove all the top secret clearance, the top secret information, and make it more public. So we'll see a lot of events in that area. 42 in our countdown. Now the Supreme Court has chosen not to put a stay on Texas's new anti-abortion law. Will the U.S. turn into a country where women's hard-fought rights and opportunities are quickly reversed, or will this action be somehow corrected? So the answer to this from my guides and angels is very similar to the one we answered almost at the top of the show, is that we will see a lot of very effective fights in the courts, state and federal. Certainly the vigilante provision won't survive. And then we'll also see a shift in the Supreme Court over the next 12 to 18 months, where I see 3 additional moderates, if you will, but I see 2 replacements on the Supreme Court, and then an additional Supreme Court justice being added by Biden. And so all of these, the collective effect on all of these will be that certainly women's rights will be upheld, and certainly Roe v. Wade will be upheld as well. Number 41. Hi, Sterling. Previously, you talked about each of us writing a clear and concise check of what you want the universe to help you manifest. I'm concerned that instead, I might be focusing my attention on what's lacking in my life and manifesting more of the same lacking. What's your distinction? So this question does come up a lot. I'm happy to answer it. When you write a manifestation check or create a manifestation plan, that's like writing a large contract to the universe. It's almost like being an architect and committing to build a very large building. So it's not from a position of lack. It's almost from a position of goal setting and really defining a perfect outcome. And this is how I always say all the big asks that we make in the universe, you work in conjunction with your guides. So it's not coming from a position of lack. It's making a large scale commitment to a large contract. So that's the difference. Number 40 in our top 50 countdown. Will the Biden administration redo the last census since the Republicans shortened the time period? Yes, for me, somehow this all comes out and is affected or is an offshoot of the For the People Act. So I do see the For the People Act eventually getting passed out into next year. Might be the middle of next year, but it's going to go through a couple of cycles before it gets passed. And then the outgrowth of that act will certainly, there'll be a redo of the census, and they're going to look at all of the elements that affect, fair voting and accurate voting and representative voting of what's really going on in this country. So I do see it. 39 in our top 50 countdown. It feels like the past year and a half has been a great reveal of people's true nature. When people are put in situations of extreme pressure and stress, we saw them make choices that told us their true character. How do we move forward from here when it feels as if the whole community, friends, family, are not what you once thought they were? Well, recognize this is a time of tremendous growth in you and the earth and the planet. And remember, you agreed to be down here at this time to help the world. Congratulations. And, this, in fact, is all part of the big reset. So people revealing, let's say, who they are is all part of growth. It's growth for you. It's growth for them. It's a recognition of the changes going on around you. So nothing to be worried about. I would say just make sure you continue to move forward and connect with divine energy. And we could talk about that on the shows here, but keep moving forward. This is all part of a normalized growth plan. Number 38, the top 50 countdown. For anti-vaxxers who passed from COVID after being hospitalized, what are their thoughts and feelings regarding the choices once they're on the other side? Well, what I get on that is is really full of enlightenment. When you pass on, let's say, from a condition of that nature, it's all part of your life path agreement. And you receive full enlightenment on the other side when you pass. But I do see a lot of those individuals now not only changing their tune, so to speak, but they're also now destined to help others from the other side, like doctors and nurses and ICUs, and they're actually helping on the other side as part of their life path journey to elevate their energy. So certainly difficult in terms of their exit, but now they're helping others. So full realization. Remember, heaven is all about learning and understanding life lessons and healing. 37 of the top 50 countdown. Hi, Sterling. My 9-year-old grandson sees light and orbs around him. He also is able to communicate with his guide, guardian angel. By the way, you have many guides and guardian angels. However, he also sees an entity in his room occasionally that frightens him. He says it just looks scary. What advice can I give him so he's not afraid? Well, I would just start off by saying congratulations, only that if he's already 9 years old, everybody's born with a psychic mediumship gift. And I find most people give it up normally or put it aside about 5 or 6 years old. If he's still experiencing and has that gift at 9 years old, he's definitely destined to use the gift going forward. I always tell people that if you have any energy around you that you find uncomfortable or dark in some nature, never hurts to say a quick protective prayer. There's really nothing evil out there. There are lower forms of energy, depression, those kinds of things will bring people around. I don't think your 9-year-old son has that problem. But what I would do say is for anybody that is uncomfortable, say 2 quick protective prayers. One might be you want to stand in supreme white protective light, or want to stand in God's protective white light. And the second thing you can say is any spirits here that are not of the light, be cast back into the light. Don't come back to this location. So a little bit of simple process there, a little protective prayer. I think that'll help him. And I think congratulations, looks like he's on a journey to help a lot of people with his psychic mediumship gifts. Number 36 on our top 50 countdown. How do spirit guides predict an individual's future? Using the Akashic records as a reference. That's normally how it's all done. 35 on our countdown. Are there more than one library of Akashic records? Yes, so there's a tremendous number of unique libraries within the master Akashic records, if you will. And Akashic records are analogous to a huge data center that exists in another dimension. It's how you interact with it. But yes, there's lots of libraries, a tremendous number of individual unique libraries contained within the master Akashic records library. 34. Love to know if the officials in Congress and all others who refuse to relinquish their cell phones to the Special Insurrection Committee will be successfully sanctioned. First off, I do see all of the phone records coming forward. So the January 6th commission will be successful in subpoenaing and issuing subpoenas and getting all of the phone records. However, whether everybody is sanctioned or not, I don't think everybody's going to get sanctioned. I think a few will be, but overall, all of the subpoenas for the specific phone records will be received by Congress. 33. What is the significance of the Overton Bridge, and that's spelled O-V-E-R-T-O-U-N, bridge, in Scotland that makes dogs jump to their death? Giving the bridge the name the Dog Suicides Bridge. So what I get on that, and what I even know from the other side, is first off, all animals, especially dogs, are part of the angelic realm. So first off, they do not commit suicide. What I get here on this particular bridge in Scotland is this has to do with like an unsafe construction of the bridge. So that either it's too low in terms of the guardrails, there aren't guardrails. In fact, I find it a little concerning that whoever owns this bridge or the municipality isn't taking more steps to protect animals, because these are more or less somewhat accidental deaths where dogs are following the scent of something, could be squirrel or animal or something. So I don't see this as suicide at all. very unfortunate that so many animals or dogs are dying, but whoever the municipality is here really needs to step up to the plate and work on some safety measures to stop animals from falling over the bridge. It's terrible. Number 32 in our countdown. Can you talk about fairies? If they are those beings helping nature, why did I read that they are a lower form of energy? Well, fairies are part of the realm that's just kind of below the angelic realm, and they do tend to be a little bit pranksterous. They like to play games. They're a little bit of the court jesters, if you will, in kind of the spiritual realm. But they're certainly benevolent energy. They're certainly helpful, and they're just below the angelic realm of energy. So hopefully that helps. 31. Do your guides ever talk about how our thoughts work in tandem with universal creative energy to co-create our life experiences? Yes, and I've talked about this several times on the show. You know, the creative side of our minds that's the side that's connected to the universe. So people, for example, that are highly creative, you know, songwriters, novelists, actors, painters, sculptors, they channel the other side easily because it's all part of the creative connection to the universe. So yes, whenever you connect with the creative elements in the universe, the creative side of your mind, you are tapped into the universe. And that's the same channel where your guides and angels exist, and your family members and your pets and animals. So the answer is yes. I mean, connecting with the creative side of the universe definitely connects you with the creative elements across the universe and with everybody else. Number 30, our top 50 countdown. The HAF, Homeowners Assistance Fund, is supposed to be able to help homeowners affected by COVID. The program lets borrowers negotiate reductions to their monthly payments of up to 25%. When do you see the funds released and the program finally starting so that homeowners will be able to get help? I do see a significant release of funds or progress over the next 2 to 3 months. I happen to know the program has already started in some states, but I do see Biden jumping in there and accelerating the process over the next 2 to 3 months to try to release any kind of a logjam, if you will, to getting this program moving. So look for big progress over the next 2 to 3 months as the money getting released. The money's there, but releasing the log jams to get the money released. 29, our top 50 countdown. It looks like there have been many giants living on Earth in the past. Can you tell us more about them? So there have been giants, and they have been reported over, you know, all the way back to biblical times. But what I do get is that they have more of a protective nature. So they're not always visible, and they hide from a lot of humanity just due to some bad experiences over the years that people find them threatening, and look, they've tried to do them harm. So yeah, I mean, there are giants living on Earth, and they have been seen, and people have documented them, but they're not in wide display just due to their threats that they receive. 28, the Gibb brothers, Andy, Maurice, and Robin of the Bee Gees, do they have any message they wish to impart for these difficult times and for families experiencing severe loss? When I get on the Bee, I think Barry is the last Bee Gee brother that's left. I know Andy was the youngest, died at like 30. What they want to impart to everybody is that the whole purpose, a lot of the purpose of their life when they were down here was one of survival and how to pivot in life. So, I mean, they're just telling me now that, you know, they had to pivot many times in their life, as many people do when you have tragedy. It could be tragedy in your career and family, but learning how to survive and to pivot is like the most important, and how to connect with, you know, divine love and divine presence. Remember, all of our loved ones are very near to us right on the other side. I mean, I communicate with many of them during sessions I do with people, and their spirit's very, very close. So the big message from the Gibb brothers is about survival and learning how to pivot in life and keep moving forward. They send a lot of love to their brother Barry. Number 27, Will unions in the US become stronger again in the future to have clear representation? Yes, and I see two big factors for me. A lot of the fights going on here for women's rights right now will somehow also strengthen the unions, interestingly enough. And I also see that the uncovering of what I'll call dark money or under the table payments around unions will take out some of the undue influence. So I do see unions becoming stronger as they kind of evade themselves of some of the undue influence of under the table money, and many more stronger women's groups coming to support rights that somehow also going to reinforce unions as well. Number 26 in our top 50 countdown. Last year, I remember you mentioned several times a prediction about a North Korean nuclear explosion in 2020. Could this happen this year now that we resumed their program? Yes, I mean, so I'll tell you, that was a very strong message that I got last year about a North Korean nuclear accident. Now, within about a month or two after, I know my guides predicted that last year, we saw a nuclear power plant accident in Shanghai, which is on the coast of China, right across the coast from Korea. So in some respects, I believe that may have been part of what they saw, but I do see another North Korean nuclear accident coming up. It does look like it gets contained, but I do see some difficulty there in North Korea. So I do see it still coming. And I believe that was the reference that my guides might have seen last year, was that nuclear power plant in Shanghai on the coast of China, right across from Korea. 25. Delta is now in New Zealand. So yeah, the COVID variant Delta is now in New Zealand. Will we get this under control? So apparently this person's in New Zealand. Yes, I do see significant progress of containing the variants. So it's not just the original variant, but Delta, Lambda, and the new Mu variant. Looks like over the next 12-month period, it'll get fully contained like the rest of the world. I do feel New Zealand's going to make very strong progress, and any shutdowns they might be going through will be released fairly soon. So anyway, they're going to make great progress, but like the rest, they've almost on the same kind of a timetable as the rest of the world. 24. Well, Elon Musk successfully started an electric company in Texas. Yes. And what's interesting, I get on this, that this will be on the backs of the solar power generation farm he's going to create for his mega factories in Texas. So it's almost like a companion business for Elon Musk. The solar farm that he's going to create to power his solar factories, he'll be able to scale that up and then supply power to the grid, if you will, and then start another power company that will complement Texas. So I do see that happening. Yep. 23. Can you tell us when typical medicine will become more holistic? East meets West. Will we eventually use medical intuitives? Yes, absolutely. Over the next 5 to 10 years here, so certainly over the next decade, we're going to see a great integration of East meets West medical practices. And this will occur for two major reasons. The first is that it works. The conventional medical establishment will acknowledge the benefits of Easternized medicine approaches. And the second part of that is I do see there's going to be significant cost reductions in medical care. So some of the holistic practices are certainly much less expensive than chemotherapy, those kinds of things. So I do see that happening. And it looks like, I think the question here is also medical intuitives as part of it. That's more, 10 years out where I see that becoming more prominent. 22. If we are all one, why are there old and new souls? So we're all part of the one force at creation. So all souls got created at the same time, the universe, and one force came into being. The term old souls references the number of times individuals come down to earth to experience life lessons. So some may have been down tens, hundreds of times, some thousands of times. So that's where that term really comes from. We're all part of the one force. And then the term old soul really has to do with souls that come down to Earth many, many times. 21 in the top 50 countdown. Will Social Security run out of money in 2034? No, but this is only due to corporate tax laws that are coming into being. So we're going to see new corporate tax laws, and those corporate tax laws will be very significant in driving up new money. So here we go, over the next decade. We're in 2021 now. A little over the next decade, we'll see the corporate tax laws put more money into the coffer, so to speak. So I don't see Social Security running out. 20, our top 50 countdown. During our life review, do we have to watch every second of our life again, or only the important parts? Well, the life review is all about the consolidation, if you will, of what you learned on Earth, the life lessons. And you are required as part of it to kind of feel the feelings that others felt when you dealt with them. So there's a process to it, and you do experience all the important parts that are relative to you understanding your life journey. So really, you really go through all the major important parts. Hopefully that helps. 19. My question may be too late. Obviously not, we're asking now. My question may be too late, but do you see the public embracing intuitive talents and possibly teaching this in public schools? I do see there's a progression here for me, which starts out over the next 3 to 5 years as intuitiveness, if you will, or even psychic and mediumship, kind of moving into college and universities around the subject of ESP. So it moves for me more into colleges and universities. I think another 5 to 8 to 10 years out, we'll see it move more into public schools. So I do see it happening, and it kind of, there's a little progression there. Starts out in colleges and universities first. Number 18 in our top 50 countdown. Is there a difference in the size of orbs? Are large orbs our relatives and small orbs angels or spirit guides? No, it's actually reversed. Normally, the larger orbs you'll see are angels and spiritual guides. Smaller orbs tend to be family members and pets and animals. Number 17. Do you see any negative outcomes resulting from vaccine passports? Overall, I see vaccine passports being very, very beneficial. So it'll make things easier to travel worldwide. For example, if you have a QR code that goes back to a large relational database of vaccine records for digital passports. What I do see is that there'll be significant delays in rolling the program out. And even as the program rolls out, there'll be problems just debugging the whole system. So I guess the only negative outcome I see is that it will create some delays as they roll the program out over the next number of years here. But overall, will be very beneficial once it gets debugged. Just to have a simple, for example, QR code. And so any establishment you go into, let's say it's a restaurant or movie theater, or you're traveling through airports or internationally or airlines, the benefits will largely outweigh any negative factors. Number 16, will we learn who paid off Brett Kavanaugh's huge debts, including some gambling debts? Well, I do see a lot of the money that moved around behind the scenes coming into light and to who the benefactors were. So let me leave it more general there just for the safety of everybody. And I want to be fair to everybody. I know this is a very specific question, but as the money trail comes to light here over the next number of months, we'll see all those that benefited. For 15, can you tell us what happened to the Aztec nation? It is said that approximately 1,200 people disappeared after building a great nation. About the Aztec nation, Aztec people. Well, for me, there are actually millions of people that disappeared from the Aztec nation, and it appears that it was a catastrophic disease for me. So I don't really get the name of the disease here, but it was catastrophic disease, took out a lot of the nation. And then it was some sort of an additional, whoever was left from the Aztec nation was some sort of a war that took out the remaining people. So it looks like predominantly it was a disease, catastrophic disease that took out most of them. 14, do you and your guide see a female exodus from Texas? No, and this parallels some of the answers that we had earlier in the show, but I do see a very large group of national women's groups really coming into play here and really helping out Texas and mobilizing new fights and also helping to save Roe v. Wade. So a very similar in answer to some of the questions we already answered in the show. 13 in our top 50 countdown. McCarthy has threatened the companies that if they give the phone records investigating the January 6th insurrection, they will be punished when the Republicans come to power. Will the committee get the records? So 2 questions here in this one question to be answered. I do see the January 6th commission getting all the phone records. Absolutely, they will. And then the first part of that question, I don't see anything bad coming from the threats here being made by McCarthy. For me, this accounts to what I'll call saber rattling. So it's threatening, they're hollow threats and it's saber rattling. Number 12, how do we spread love and healing energy to those caught up in the big lie so that they can see the truth for themselves and heal? Well, we touched on this earlier, but the best way to do this is to send love and light to people in private. So that tends to temper the situation and help them. You're never going to change everybody's mind, but if you send them love and light, that helps you, and that helps your guides and angels send messages to their guides and angels, and helps temper kind of the learning process. Number 11, do you see a cure for migraines in the future? So I guess migraine headaches. Yes, this will all be part of CRISPR technology, which is gene editing technology, and CRISPR being spelled C-R-Y-S-P-R. That's the new gene editing technology that's coming on very strong. And certainly over the next 5 to 8 year window, maybe 5 to 10 year window, migraine headaches will be one of the ails, the human ails that will be assisted by CRISPR technology. Number 10, will there ever be technology to help us erase a bad memory? There will be, and I see a lot of medical advances using the integration of artificial intelligence or AI technology with quantum computing technology. So this will be the ability to isolate certain brain waves and certain signals, and neural signals going on in the brain, be able to isolate them, and then also be able to counteract them using electrical stimulus technology going through the hands. So, technically put, it's almost like supplying a similar waveform that's 180 degrees out of phase, which will cancel the original waveform. For those that are technical on this show, those that I'm talking about, it's almost like phase cancellation. Number 9, will the ETs help solve our climate change disaster within the next 20 years? So ETs, or extraterrestrials, are already helping the overall fix for climate change. Remember, this is all part of the 3-decade process I alluded to, which is 2020 to 2050. But the ETs are already helping, and yes, they'll all be part of the technology they'll be offering up to continue to help with and help solve the problem. 8 in our top 50 countdown, will the Biden administration add another judge to the Supreme Court next year? And so we actually answered this in the early part of the show. I do see, 3 Supreme Court justices coming on to the Supreme Court, but for me, it's like 2 replacements and then 1 additional add is how it's gonna work. Okay, question number 7 in our top 50 countdown. Could you ask your guides why we're hearing of more cases of pancreatic cancer? Well, stress in the world is a major portion of the development of cancer. And if we go around with a lot of stress, that can sometimes trigger cancers in the body. So pancreatic cancer is one form of cancer. We're all born with elements of cancer. We have some of those cells in our body. and they get exacerbated and activated many times through a lot of stress. So really the answer to this question is that much higher levels of stress in the world right now due to all the things that humankind is experiencing with pandemic and climate change and politics. And so that's a big reason why we're seeing increases in cancer, and certainly pancreatic cancer is one of them. Number 6 in our countdown, a collaboration video of a psychic and astrologer this week saw a civil war coming for the US. Is this true? Well, I do see a lot of skirmishes around the nation. That's very true. So we'll see, unrest and riots. We'll continue to see them around the world. I don't see that developing into a large-scale civil war that would, for example, put numerous states against numerous states. But I do see skirmishes occurring around the country, that's for sure. Number 5, who do you see as the next governor of Florida? Charlie Crist, Nikki Fried, or DeSantis? Well, I'm being told that it looks like there will be a female governor, more moderate in Florida. And so whoever asked this question laid out 3 people here. I believe Nikki Fried is female and a Democrat. Looks to me like in the final stretch of Florida, it's going to be a head-to-head race between Charlie Crist and Nikki Fried. And what I'm getting is it looks like Nikki Fried will end up being the winner. 4, will there ever be a reliable lie detector so innocent people will not be put in prison? Yes, and this is over the next 5 to 8 years here period, but this is an integration with artificial intelligence technology and quantum computing. And by the way, that coupling of artificial intelligence and quantum computing, supercomputing, will be used in many areas, but won't be analyzed brain waves. And if you'll understand when people are lying, because when people are lying, the creative portions of our brain get heavily utilized. And so there'll be a way to kind of analyze waveforms, understand when the creative portions of our brain are being overutilized to create lies. So it'll help. This will be an area which will at some point will become reliable. Number 3, our top 50 countdown. Do all animals go back to our spiritual family or only domestic pets? So all animals, 2 parts here. All animals go back to the spiritual realm, the angelic realm. Animals are part of the angelic realm, but our pets are also part of our extended spiritual family. So remember, animals can move easily through the angelic realm down to our spiritual family realm. They move back and forth. So I guess, not all animals move into your spiritual family realm. Certainly the ones that are part of your spiritual family that you certainly experienced here in life and prior lifetimes do move into your spiritual family. They can also move back and forth to the angelic realm. Number 2 in our countdown here, do you see anything coming up next week? I do see significant rescue operations coming up for Afghanistan. So this is going to be both in the public eye and also covert. So I do see a number of rescue operations. I see heavy support coming for Louisiana, the federal government, for all the flood damage, and also for parts of the East Coast, New York, New Jersey. I see a lot of that happening. I do see more Republicans implicated here in the January 6th insurgents. And I also see Biden proposing new programs here, somehow new legal programs for what's going on in Texas with the abortion rights law that was just passed. So I do see another challenge and some other bit of legislation or executive order being proposed to assist with what's happening there in Texas with that abortion law. And number 1 in our top 50 countdown, do you have anything your guides want to share? They do. So this is an interesting one. Spend time whenever you can talking to your loved ones on the other side, because not only does this help you, but it helps them. They also appreciate the communication. They want to communicate with you as much as you want to communicate with them. And I think it's just a good overall practice. It's like going to the gym. It's like a good exercise, learn how to talk with your loved ones that passed over. So make sure you do that frequently and often. And so with that, that concludes our top 50 countdown for today, Sunday, September 5th. Again, thanks for joining us. Again, if you want to reach me at any point for a session, just navigate to sterlingpsychicmedium.com, look for the book online tab. Until next Sunday, I'm going to wish you a lot of goodwill, a lot of love, and I will be doing a show with Linda G, the Comanche Psychic, next Sunday, so you can look for that, as well as another show on the Sterling channel. So until then, again, lots of goodwill, lots of love. Everybody take care.